Without me, you're nothing, Emily, Ryan Blake said softly enough to sound private, but loudly enough for everyone nearest us to hear. The words slipped beneath the music and crystal laughter of the ballroom, sharper than any shout. I stood under a ceiling of gold light, surrounded by 400 people in tailored tuxedos and gowns that shimmered like spilled champagne, and somehow I had never felt more invisible. Ryan smiled as if he had paid me a compliment. His hand rested at the small of Madison Reed's back, displaying his new fiancée with the same pride he once used when presenting my designs as his own. Around us, conversation slowed. Heads turned. Nobody wanted to stare, but nobody looked away. I held my black clutch against my ribs and reminded myself to breathe. In for 4 seconds. Out for 4. The technique had carried me through boardrooms, breakups, unpaid bills, and every morning when I woke up still hearing his voice inside my head. You need me. You're too emotional. You don't understand business. Without me, no one will remember your name. Ryan, I said, surprised by how steady I sounded. This isn't the time. His smile widened. It's never the time when the truth makes you uncomfortable. A few guests lowered their eyes. Others pretended to study the auction displays. The string quartet kept playing, but the melody suddenly felt too delicate for the room. I should have walked away. That was what I had trained myself to do during the 3 years I loved him. Leave quietly. Apologize later. Make myself smaller so his pride could take up more space. Instead, my fingers tightened around the old blue notebook hidden beneath my clutch. My notebook. My sketches. My ideas. The first lines of the hotel empire Ryan had built while telling the world I had merely watched. Tell them, he murmured. Tell everyone where you would be without me. My throat closed. Then a man's voice came from behind him. Calm. Low. Impossible to ignore. Perhaps we should ask where you would be without her. Ryan's expression changed before he even turned around. The confidence left his face in small pieces. The crowd shifted, opening a path for Vincent Moretti. I knew. The name. Everyone in Manhattan business circles did. People called Vincent Moretti a hotel investor in public. In private, they used quieter words. His name appeared on hotel deeds, shipping permits, and private club records, but rarely in the kind of stories respectable newspapers were willing to print. He owned hotels, private clubs, shipping companies, and enough silence to make rumors grow around him. He wore a black suit with no visible logo and carried himself like a man who had never needed to prove he belonged in a room. His dark blue eyes moved from Ryan to me, pausing on the notebook pressed against my side. He did not look at me with pity. That would have broken me. He looked at me as if I were the only person there who mattered. Then he held out his hand. He did not grab me. He did not order me. He simply waited. Then let them see who she is without you, he said. My hand trembled as I placed it in his. The ballroom fell silent. 12 hours earlier, I had believed this night would be another job I survived. I had no idea Vincent Moretti had come to unravel everything Ryan had built, or that he already knew whose name belonged on the foundation. 8 hours earlier, I was standing in my apartment with one shoe on and the other buried beneath a stack of fabric samples, wondering how a woman could design spaces worth millions of dollars and still live in a place where the radiator knocked like it wanted to escape. My phone showed 6:42 in the morning. The gala began at 7 that evening, but Grace Miller had already sent 3 messages reminding me that the floral delivery was late, the seating chart had changed, and Ryan Blake had requested my personal attention. His name sat on the screen like a warning I had trained myself to ignore. I had not spoken to Ryan in 4 months. Not since he ended our 6-year relationship over dinner, slid my apartment key across the table, and told me he had outgrown the life we built together. 2 weeks later, a business magazine photographed him beside Madison Reed and called her the inspiration behind his newest hotel concept. I recognized every curve in the lobby, every muted blue wall, every brass fixture. I had drawn them in the notebook resting on my kitchen counter. The cover had faded from navy to gray at the edges, but my initials were still pressed into the leather. Emily Carter. Proof that before Ryan had investors, headlines, or a corner office, he had me. I opened to the first page. A hand-drawn hotel entrance stretched across the paper beneath a date from 6 years earlier. Ryan had been unemployed then, living on borrowed money and impossible confidence. I had been 22, working at a furniture showroom while building designs after midnight. He used to sit beside me with takeout coffee, and say we would create something people remembered. Somewhere along the way, we became he. The ideas became his vision. The sketches became company property. My name disappeared from presentations because he said investors trusted a single voice. I believed him because love can make surrender sound like teamwork. A knock interrupted the memory. When I opened the door, no one was there. Only a cream envelope lay on the hallway carpet. My name was written across it in dark ink. Inside was a card with 7 words. Bring the original blue notebook tonight. I read the message 3 times. There was no signature. No explanation. My first instinct was to leave the notebook at home. My second was the instinct Ryan had spent years teaching me. The one that said questions created trouble and silence kept me safe. Then I looked at the date beneath my first drawing. I closed the cover and slipped the notebook into my work bag. At the hotel, the ballroom smelled of white roses, polished wood, and money. Workers moved beneath chandeliers while Grace hurried toward me with a headset pressed against one ear. "You are finally here," she said. Ryan changed the main display again. I followed her gaze toward the stage and stopped breathing. Behind the podium stood a 12-foot rendering of a hotel lobby framed by curved staircases and blue glass. My lobby. My drawing. The one from the first page of the notebook. A man in a dark suit stood alone near the back of the room, watching my face instead of the display. I did not know Vincent Moretti yet, but he looked at my bag as though he knew exactly what I had brought. The man near the back of the ballroom looked away before I could decide whether he had been watching me or the notebook inside my bag. Grace touched my elbow and guided me toward the stage, talking quickly about table numbers, lighting cues, and a donor who wanted his name moved higher on the program. I heard almost none of it. The 12-foot rendering filled my vision. I remembered drawing those curved stairs at 2 in the morning while Ryan slept beside a stack of unpaid bills. I remembered choosing blue glass because it caught light without making a room feel cold. Now his company logo covered the corner where my initials should have been. Beautiful, is it not? Ryan's voice came from behind me. My shoulders tightened before I turned. He wore a charcoal tuxedo, and the expression he saved for cameras, warm enough to seem kind and controlled enough to hide everything else. Madison stood beside him in a silver gown, one hand resting lightly on his arm. "Emily," he said, as though we were old colleagues instead of 2 people who once shared a home. "I heard the agency assigned you tonight." "I am coordinating the event," I replied. His eyes moved to my plain black dress, my work badge, and the bag pressed against my side. "That suits you." Madison gave me a polite smile. "Ryan says you were helpful when the company first started." Helpful. The word landed with perfect precision. I had designed the first 3 properties, written the brand standards, and spent 6 years turning Ryan's promises into rooms people wanted to enter. Helpful was what someone called the person who carried extra chairs. I did more than help, I said. The sentence surprised all 3 of us. Ryan's smile remained, but something colder appeared beneath it. "Of course, you had ideas." We all did. A group of investors approached before I could answer. One of them pointed toward the rendering and praised the way the staircase made the lobby feel open without losing privacy. Ryan accepted the compliment with a modest nod. "That balance has always been central to my vision," he said. My fingers closed around the strap of my bag. The original sketch was less than an inch from my hand. I could have opened it. I could have shown them the date, the notes, the coffee stain from the night I created the entire concept. Instead, I stood silent while Ryan described my work as if it had arrived fully formed inside his mind. When the investors moved away, he leaned closer. His voice softened. "Do not embarrass yourself tonight. By telling the truth? By pretending anyone came here to hear it." He glanced around the ballroom. "Without me, nobody in this room would even know your name." He walked away with Madison before I found an answer. For one terrible second, I believed him. Then the man in the dark suit appeared beside the display. Up close, Vincent Moretti seemed even quieter than the room around him. His gaze rested on the staircase, then on my bag. The original design had 3 pendant lights above the center table. He said. Colo, my breath caught. The rendering showed 5. Only my first sketch had 3. "How do you know that?" I whispered. Vincent turned his dark blue eyes toward me. "Because, Miss Carter, I have been looking for the person who drew it." Vincent's words seemed to pull every sound out of the ballroom. For a moment, I heard only the soft hum of the lights above us and the uneven rhythm of my own breathing. "You were looking for me?" I asked. His gaze moved to the rendering behind us. I was looking for the designer whose work was submitted to one of my development companies 3 years ago. The proposal carried Ryan Blake's name, but the original files were signed with the initials EC. My hand tightened around the strap of my bag. Those files were never supposed to leave our office. Yet they did. Vincent's voice remained calm. They were used to secure private funding for a project that was never completed. The meaning settled slowly. Ryan had not only taken credit for my designs. He had used them to collect money from people powerful enough to fill a ballroom with silence. I did not know. I whispered. I believe you. The certainty in his answer frightened me more than suspicion would have. Before I could ask another question, the lights over the stage brightened. Ryan stepped behind the podium and welcomed the guests with the polished confidence of a man who had never expected anyone to challenge his version of the truth. He spoke about vision, loyalty, and the courage to build something from nothing. Each word felt borrowed. Then his eyes found me beside Vincent. His smile tightened. We should also thank the many assistants who helped along the way, he said. Several people turned toward me. Some contributions are valuable, even when they are small. Heat rose across my face. Grace stood near the stage, watching with concern. Madison looked down at her champagne glass. Vincent did not move, but the air around him changed. Ryan left the podium and crossed the ballroom toward us, collecting attention with every step. Emily, he said, this is a private event. Staff should remain near their assigned stations. I am not speaking as staff, I replied. My voice shook, but it did not disappear. I designed the concept behind that display. Ryan laughed softly. You made a few sketches while we were together. I created the entire plan. And who turned it into a business? He looked at the people gathering around us. Who found the investors? Who gave you access to rooms like this? The old instinct returned. Apologize. Step back. Let him win so the moment would end. My fingers found the blue notebook inside my bag, but Ryan noticed the movement. You always did confuse imagination with achievement, he said. Without me, nobody here would even know your name. The sentence landed exactly where he intended. A murmur moved through the crowd. Vincent stepped forward, not between us, but beside me. That is an interesting claim, he said. Ryan's face lost color. Mr. Moretti, this is a personal misunderstanding. No, it is a business matter. Vincent looked toward the rendering. My analysts recovered early design files from the proposal your company submitted. Every original page contains the same initials. He turned to me. Emily Carter. My full name traveled through the ballroom in his voice. Ryan opened his mouth, but Vincent raised one hand, and the room became still. Then he offered that hand to me. He did not reach for my wrist. He did not pull me closer. He simply waited, leaving the choice in the small space between us. Miss Carter, he said, would you stand beside me? I looked at Ryan. For years, he had taught me that survival meant becoming smaller. I looked at Vincent. He was asking me to take up space. My hand trembled as I placed it in his. His grip was steady, careful, and warm enough to remind me that I was still breathing. Vincent faced the crowd. She is not the woman behind Ryan Blake, he said. Ryan Blake is the man standing in front of her work. No one spoke. Ryan stared at our joined hands as if the room had turned against him. Perhaps it had. Vincent guided me away from the crowd, but when we reached the quiet corridor beyond the ballroom, his expression remained serious. You deserve the truth before you decide whether to trust me, he said. Your former partner did not only steal from you. He used your name to steal from me. The corridor felt colder than the ballroom, though the music still reached us through the closed doors in soft, distant waves. Vincent released my hand the moment we were alone. That small act unsettled me more than if he had held on. Ryan had always treated letting go as a punishment. Vincent made it feel like a promise. What do you mean he used my name? I asked. Vincent glanced toward a quiet conference room at the end of the hall. I can show you, but the decision to enter is yours. I almost laughed. Men like him did not ask permission. At least, that was what every whispered story about Vincent Moretti suggested. Yet he stood several feet away, waiting. I nodded. Inside, a leather folder rested on the polished table. Daniel Hayes, Vincent's attorney, rose from his chair and introduced himself before sliding a set of documents toward me. The first page showed one of my hotel designs. Beneath it was a financing agreement for $12 million. My initials appeared beside a statement confirming that I had supervised the project. I never signed this, I said. We know, Daniel replied. The signature does not match your legal records. The room seemed to tilt. Ryan had borrowed my ideas, my name, and my credibility, then attached them to money I had never seen. Vincent stood near the window, his reflection dark against the city lights. The project collapsed 18 months ago, he said. The funds disappeared through several companies connected to Blake. Your work was used as proof that the development was legitimate. I looked down at the papers, but the words blurred. Why did nobody contact me? Because Ryan told everyone you had left the country, Daniel said. He said you refused to cooperate. Of course he did. Ryan had always been skilled at turning my silence into evidence against me. What happens now? I asked. Vincent answered carefully. Your notebook can establish ownership. Your testimony can stop the new agreement Ryan plans to sign tomorrow. After tonight, he will know we found you. He may try to destroy records or pressure you into changing your account. Pressure me how? Through your clients, your reputation, your fear of public conflict. He did not make the danger sound dramatic. He made it sound familiar, which was worse. I can arrange a secure place for 72 hours, he continued. You will have your own room, your own transportation, and access to Daniel whenever you choose. The offer sounded reasonable, but my body reacted before my mind did. My shoulders tightened. My hand closed around the notebook. I left one man who treated me like property, I said. I will not belong to another. Silence settled between us. Daniel looked down, giving the moment privacy. Vincent did not appear offended. He stepped farther away. Then do not belong to me, he said. Stand beside me. The words were quiet, but they reached somewhere Ryan's voice had lived for years. And if I say no? I asked. A car will take you home. The evidence remains yours. I will not follow you. I studied his face, searching for the hidden condition. There was none I could see. 3 days, I said. No decisions made for me. No one enters my room without asking. I speak for myself when we confront Ryan. Vincent nodded once. Agreed. Daniel gathered the documents while Vincent opened the door and waited for me to walk through first. In the ballroom, Ryan watched us from across. The crowd, his smile gone. My phone vibrated inside my bag. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. Give me the notebook, Emily, or everyone will learn what you really are. The message stayed on my screen while the ballroom moved around me, as if nothing had changed. Music, laughter, glasses touching beneath golden light. I showed the phone to Vincent. His expression did not harden. It became still. Do you recognize the number? He asked. No, then do not answer yet. The word yet unsettled me. It suggested this was only the beginning. By sunrise, Ryan had already begun. Photographs from the gala appeared online, cropped to show Vincent holding my hand while Ryan stood several feet away. An industry news account described me as a bitter former girlfriend using a powerful new relationship to damage an honest company. An old photograph from a hotel development conference had been falsely captioned to suggest that Vincent and I had met weeks earlier. By 8 in the morning, strangers were calling me calculating, dishonest, and desperate for attention. I sat at the long kitchen table in Vincent's guest residence, wearing yesterday's dress beneath a borrowed gray sweater, watching my name become a story I did not recognize. Grace called first. I know it is not true, she said, but the agency is receiving complaints. 10 minutes later, my largest private client canceled a hotel design contract worth nearly $40,000. The email was polite. That made it worse. They wished me well while removing the contract that would have paid my rent for the next year. Ryan knew exactly where to press. I whispered. Vincent stood across the room, giving me space. Daniel can respond publicly. And what will people see? I asked. Your attorney defending the woman photographed holding your hand. They will see evidence. They will see your power. My voice rose despite my effort to control it. Every room I enter now belongs to you in their minds. Every word I say sounds purchased. Vincent accepted the accusation without interrupting. That silence made anger easier. You brought me into this, I said. I was already in it, he replied. You were. Simply the last person Ryan expected to discover it. That does not make me feel safer. What would? I looked toward the windows. Manhattan stretched below us, bright and indifferent. Going home, Daniel advised against it. Vincent's security team recommended waiting. Every sensible person in the room had a reason I should stay. I reached for my bag. No decisions made for me. That was our agreement. Vincent held my gaze for several seconds, then nodded. It still is. He arranged a car, but did not insist on coming. Before I left, he said, protection that removes your choice is another kind of prison. I wanted to believe him. I was too angry to try. My apartment door was locked when I arrived. Nothing inside looked disturbed. The dishes remained beside the sink. Fabric samples still covered the couch. Even the cream envelope lay where I had left it. I crossed the room and opened the fireproof drawer beneath my drafting desk. It was empty. The blue notebook was gone. I searched every room twice before calling Grace, then the building manager. He showed me the hallway camera recording from an hour earlier. A woman in a silver coat had entered using a key and left carrying something beneath her arm. The image sharpened when she turned toward the elevator. Madison Reed looked directly into the camera. Madison called before I could decide whether to call Vincent. Her name appeared on my screen, and I stared at it for 3 rings. I have your notebook, she said when I answered. Her voice was low and unsteady. Ryan copied your key before returning the original, she said. He gave me the duplicate this morning and told me to find the notebook before you could use it against him. My stomach tightened. Where are you? She named a coffee shop near Washington Square Park and asked me to come alone. I told the building manager where I was going, then sent the address to Grace. Trust had become something I measured in small precautions. Madison sat in the rear corner beneath a fogged window, still wearing the silver coat from the camera recording. The blue notebook rested on the table between her hands. Without the ballroom lights and perfect posture, she looked younger, tired too. Why should I believe you? I asked. She pushed the notebook toward me. Because he is doing to me what he did to you. I did not touch it yet. Madison opened a slim laptop and turned the screen toward me. Emails filled the display. In one, Ryan instructed an employee to remove my name from archived design files. Another directed his accountant to place financial responsibility for the failed project under Madison's consulting company. He plans to blame me when the agreement collapses, she said. He told me signing was a formality. Last night, I heard him tell his attorney that I would be easier to discredit than he would. Her mouth formed a bitter smile. Apparently, that is what he thinks women are for. She handed me a flash drive. It contained copies of the emails, the false contract, and a recording from Ryan's office. His voice came through the laptop speakers, clear and familiar. He admitted that the original designs were mine. He laughed about changing the dates. Hearing the truth in his voice did not heal anything. It only proved the wound had been deliberate. Why did you help him humiliate me? I asked. Madison looked down. Because he convinced me you were obsessed with him. Because believing him was easier than questioning why he spoke about you with so much anger. She drew a slow breath. I am sorry. The apology did not erase the past, but Madison did something Ryan had never done. She accepted responsibility without demanding forgiveness. The bell above the coffee shop door rang. Vincent entered alone and stopped several feet from our table. I had not called him. Madison had. Mr. Moretti already had enough influence to end Ryan's agreement last night, Madison said. I turned toward Vincent. Is that true? Yes. Then why did you wait? His answer came without hesitation. Ending the deal would have protected my money. It would not have returned your name. You asked to speak for yourself, and I intended to honor that. I looked at the notebook, the evidence, and the woman I had mistaken for my enemy. Vincent could have destroyed Ryan's reputation with one phone call. Instead, he had left the final choice in my hands. I closed my fingers around the worn blue cover. The signing meeting is tomorrow morning, Madison said. Ryan believes you have nothing. For the first time in years, his mistake did not frighten me. I looked at Vincent. Do not stop him for me. Then I looked at Madison. Bring everything. I stood with my notebook against my chest. Tomorrow, Ryan Blake is going to hear my name from me. The signing meeting began at 9 the next morning in the same hotel where Ryan had tried to erase me. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, turning the polished conference table into a sheet of gold. 12 investors sat with contracts arranged before them. Ryan stood near the presentation screen, smiling as though the future already belonged to him. His smile disappeared when I entered. Madison walked beside me, carrying the laptop. Vincent followed several steps behind, silent and composed. He did not offer me his hand. He understood that I needed both of mine free. This is a private meeting, Ryan said. Emily has no legal reason to be here. I do, I replied. My voice sounded small in the large room, but it did not shake. I placed the blue notebook on the table and opened it to the first drawing. Every design in this proposal began here. Ryan laughed, too quickly. Old sketches prove nothing. I showed them the dates, the original measurements, the handwritten notes, and the early versions that contained details his files had copied exactly. Daniel connected Madison's laptop to the screen. Emails appeared behind me, one after another. Ryan ordering employees to remove my name. Ryan approving altered creation dates. Ryan directing money through companies I had never heard of. The room grew quieter with every page. She is angry because our relationship ended, Ryan said. This is personal. No, Madison answered. This is evidence. She played the recording from his office. Ryan's own voice filled the room, admitting that the designs belonged to me and explaining how easily he could make people believe otherwise. He reached for the laptop, but Madison closed it first. Enough, the lead investor said. Ryan turned toward me, and the polished mask finally slipped. You would have nothing without the opportunities one gave you. I looked at the man I had once trusted with my work, my future, and every doubt I carried. For years, I had imagined this moment. In those dreams, I shouted. I demanded an apology. I made him understand what he had done. Standing there, I realized I did not need his understanding. I only needed my own voice. I was never nothing, I said. You built your name on mine. No one defended him. The board halted the signing and suspended Ryan's company from consideration pending a full financial review. One by one, the investors closed their folders without signing. Daniel informed Ryan that the forged documents and financial records would be turned over to the proper authorities. There were no dramatic threats, no raised voices. Ryan simply watched the future he had constructed from other people's work close its doors to him. He stepped toward me as the meeting ended. Vincent moved between us, calm and unhurried. She has already answered you, he said. Ryan stopped. For once, his silence did not control the room. It exposed him. When he finally left, Madison released a breath that sounded as though she had been holding it for months. The others gathered their documents and followed. Soon only Vincent and I remained beside the long table. He looked at the notebook beneath my hand. Your name is yours again, he said. Through the windows, the city moved beneath us, loud and bright, and completely unaware that my life had changed. What happens now? I asked. Vincent did not answer for me. He only stepped aside, leaving the open doorway in front of me. Now, he said, you decide. 3 months later, the city looked different from the windows of my new studio, though I knew the buildings had not moved. I had. My name appeared in clean black letters on the glass door. Emily Carter Design. Not Ryan Blake and Associates. Not an anonymous line beneath someone else's vision. Mine. The financial review cleared me of every false claim connected to the failed project, and the original clients received formal notice that the work belonged to me. 2 of them called to apologize. One offered me a contract. I accepted the apology and asked Daniel to review the contract. Learning to trust myself did not mean forgetting what trust had cost me. Madison ended her engagement and began cooperating with the investigation. Grace became my first full-time employee, although she insisted her real job was keeping me from working past midnight. Ryan disappeared from the business pages. I did not ask where he went. For years, I had measured my life by his attention. Freedom began when I stopped looking for it. Vincent visited the studio on a rainy Thursday evening. He arrived alone, carrying a slim folder and 2 cups of coffee. He placed one near my drafting table without assuming I wanted it. No sugar, he said. Grace told me. Grace tells you too much. Grace believes I need supervision. I almost smiled. Inside the folder was an investment proposal for a new boutique hotel. My company would control the design. My name would appear on every contract. I would retain ownership of all creative work. Vincent's firm would provide funding, but no clause allowed him to overrule me. I read every page twice. These terms are unusually generous, I said. They are fair. Men in your position rarely confuse those 2 things. His dark blue eyes held mine. Then perhaps men in my position should learn. I signed nothing that night. Vincent did not ask me to. We walked downstairs after the rain stopped and crossed the empty ballroom where everything had begun. The chandeliers were dimmed and the tables had been removed. Without hundreds of voices filling it, the room seemed smaller, less powerful. I stood near the place where Ryan had told me I was nothing. The memory was still there, but it no longer owned the floor beneath my feet. Vincent stopped beside me. "Do you regret taking my hand?" he asked. "No. Do you regret trusting me?" I considered the question. "I did not trust you that night." His expression softened. "I know. I trusted the fact that you gave me a choice." Silence settled around us, warm rather than empty. Vincent extended his hand again, exactly as he had before. He did not move closer. He did not turn the gesture into a demand. He waited. This time, there was no crowd watching, no former lover to prove wrong, no reputation to save. I placed my hand in his because I wanted to. Ryan had taught me that love was a debt, something measured by sacrifice and silence. Vincent taught me that respect was a choice renewed every time one person refused to become another person's cage. The first time he held my hand, he changed the room. The second time, I changed my life. He did not take my hand to claim me. He took it so I would remember how to stand.